Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 311 Griffin YouTube channel. We're talking about agriculture in video games, specifically Far Cry 5. And the quick reason for this is I've not been a huge fan of the recent Far Cry games, so I don't buy them when they come out, but this popped up on sale and it did look fun to play, so I bought it, and I was a little bit surprised at how much agriculture things were in this game. And I have a fairly extensive agriculture background, and so I just thought it might be fun to talk about some of the things that are in this game and how accurate they are and how it kind of works in real life usually. And again, the only reason for this is because I've been quite surprised at how many things that are related to agriculture are in Far Cry 5. And in a lot of ways they did a good job with it, but there's also a lot of things that are very, very unrealistic. So this isn't necessarily agricultural related, but I never really saw in the game that you could hook trailers up. But it became clear at this location, and the trailer just hooked up, you heard the sound. But at this location, it was very clear that I had to move this trailer, and there was a truck there. So I decided to play around with it a little bit, and the physics are a little bit wonky, but backing up and pulling trailers basically works correctly. It's a little bit tricky to do, and quite honestly, it's in some ways it's easier than in real life because this is a short trailer, and short trailers are terrible to back up. I would rather back up the long trailer any day of the week than a short trailer. So I'd say 12-foot minimum is like 12 to 16 feet, 12 to 18 feet. Those are the easiest trailers to back up. Anything shorter than 12 starts getting really difficult. So, but anyway, it's sort of agriculture related because there's a lot of trailers in ag. But anyway, you can jackknife the trailer, as you see. But it was kind of interesting that there are trailers and that they work sort of correctly. Okay, so right here, I didn't start recording until the guy had already said, because I didn't really know what was going on, but he basically is talking about testicles. So if you've played this game, you know that there's this Testy Festy is what they call it, and then in other places it's called the Testicle Festival. So I actually went to Oklahoma State University to go to, I attended college there, and they're not the only place that does this. There are testicle festivals all over the place, but Stillwater has a huge testicle festival every year, or at least they used to. And back in the day, before he passed away, Chris Ledoux was kind of the headliner. And I love Chris Ledoux. And at this testicle festival, what we called the calf fry, they would have tons of musicians. It was huge. It was massive. All you can eat calf fries. It was really good. I also ate calf fries on occasion growing up, just because we ate whatever we could get, and calf fries are pretty good when you cook them right. As far as I know, the only way you ever cook calf fries is frying them. So they are testicles, and then you kind of have to skin them a little bit. So, and I'm not talking about skinning. This is sorry in advance. There's some sensitive stuff here. I'm not talking about skinning the scrotum off of them, because you actually remove them from that whenever you cut them off of a young bull. But then you have to skin them because there's this like membrane thing around them that's really kind of gross. And you skin that off of them, and then you can like cut them up into whatever size you want, batter them, and fry them. So this guy in Far Cry 5 talks about baked, fried, boiled, steamed, and cured. You would, as far as I know, you would never bake them. And if you boiled or steamed calf fries, it would be some of the most disgusting things you've ever seen, tasted, felt. Ugh, it would be so gross. Cured, I'm pretty sure, would be also gross. Fried's the only way to go. I don't really know how you would make... I don't know how you would puree and cream them, and that would be disgusting. So right off the bat, I was just kind of like, this is disgusting because nobody eats them this way. You only fry them. So shredded, gross, absolutely gross. Um, and blue, like I don't know. We're gonna get into this. We're gonna get into this. So basically, what he's telling you to do is to go grind up a live bull and burn a live bull and kill a bull while it's mating. Um, so I know it's a video game, so it's okay. This is just kind of a fun side quest, and they did a good job with it. It's actually quite good. Um, just because it's funny and it gives you something else to do, and it would be difficult to try to simulate this kind of stuff in real life. So they did a pretty good job because these bulls. I mean, for one thing, let's take care of this plane. Don't forget to lead, folks. There we go. So, first things first, you would never keep a bunch of fully mature bulls in the same pen with each other. I mean, on occasion you can. I guess you can run some bulls in together, but also you don't cut bulls this size. And by cut, I mean castrate. So, I just gotta kill one of these, I think. He's mad. So, you don't really want... there's several things wrong here. You don't want the meat from a bull because it's kind of tough. Like full-grown bulls, they're tough. And you don't really want meat from them. So you cut them at a young age because... And this is going to offend some people. But if there's a bull that you don't think is going to be good genetically to mate to your cows, you'll cut them early and then you'll grow them up and feed them out and send them to a slaughterhouse. That's just the way it goes. So you wouldn't be cutting bulls this big. It's difficult. It's kind of pointless. If you had a bull that was a large bull, I guess, a fully grown bull, and you kind of didn't want him anymore because he wasn't good genetically or, whatever, I'm guessing most people would probably just destroy them if they couldn't sell them. If they couldn't sell them to somebody else, like maybe somebody else wanted... and I just realized I have a way to burn these. I was going to run around looking for a flamethrower. But anyway, the other thing that's wrong here, I don't want to go on and on and on about grown bulls versus small bulls. And I mean, the way this is done is when they're calves, when they're young enough, they're old enough to cut. You don't want to do it like when they're newborn, but you want them to be relatively small because it's easier on them. It's just not as difficult on them if you do it at a young age. But there's a couple ways to do it. You can band them, and I won't go into the details of that. But what I've seen done most of the time is you kind of surgically remove them in a way. Again, won't go into the details. But it's safe. It takes care of them, and it makes them not be super aggressive, and it makes their meat not get super tough. And they also don't have to go through that whenever they're older, which you wouldn't want them to do. But anyway, the other issue here is you wouldn't, and again, for the video game it works, but you wouldn't kill grown bulls just to take their testicles off. You could take them off if you wanted, without killing them. You would need a squeeze chute and some stuff like that to do it, so that you could do it safely for them and for you. But the fact that they'll kind of like somewhat realistically mate, and I don't really know why I'm trying to save this cow, but whatever. But the bulls will kind of realistically charge you. It's good. It's good. Okay, so we're delivering the testicles. And the fact that we burned one of the bulls doesn't make the testicles like flamed. I don't really know. And shredding a bull wouldn't shred the testicles necessarily, and I don't know why you'd want to shred testicles anyway. So again, this is just a funny quest. It's a way for them to be funny and cheeky, and like I'm kind of explaining how it's all wrong. But the truth is, they did a relatively good job with it. But again, you would cut the calves when they were pretty young, and then you would peel the testicles a little bit and cut them up and batter them and fry them, and it would be a good time. Now, funny story. While we're boozed up here in the game, one time my grandpa didn't cut his calves at a young enough age, and they got to be, I'm guessing, between 500 and 700 pounds. I don't really know. And they were too big to work in the chute, and his facilities weren't great anyway. So my dad basically had me and my little brother. We would catch them by hand and basically work together to shove them up against a panel or a fence, and then we would flank them, which is to, like, basically you kind of pick them up and throw them down. But these are big bulls. At this point, we would flank them down, and one of us would like twist their necks back and like hold their front leg and their head down so that they couldn't move their front end, and the other one would have to stretch out their back legs by basically putting our foot on one hock and grabbing the other hock and stretching out on the ground. And we would lay on the ground and just spread their back legs apart and hold them there while my dad castrated them. And it sucked for them and it sucked for us. So that's why you do it when they're young. So this guy wants me to go herd some cows. Um, and this is something I've seen in other video games before, and it's never done quite right. What he basically told me, and I'm sorry I didn't capture it, but he told me that like fear is the way, you can use fear to herd cattle and to throw rocks at them and stuff. And that is technically true. Some people herd cattle with four-wheelers, which honestly I think is a bad idea almost every time. It's doable, but it's just not a great idea. Um, and these bulls just go at it all the time. Also, well, never mind. I won't get into that. Oh, this bull's gonna charge me. Um, it's true that you can use fear, and basically that is what you're using, unless you're using like a feed bucket technique. And a lot of people will try to use the feed bucket technique, and it works mostly if your cattle know what the feed bucket is. So you have to be pretty calm around them always, and you have to feed them so that they're not as scared of you as they want the feed bucket. Like their desire for the feed bucket has to be greater than their fear of you. And if that's the case, then you can take a feed bucket out there and you can usually get cattle up into a pen. It's quite a bit harder to load them onto a trailer, although, again, if you're calm and they're used to the feed, and you put some feed up in the trailer and then just kind of walk away and let them climb up in there. Especially if you don't have a lot of them. We're going to throw rocks anyway because this is the way this is programmed. Um, but ultimately, like, it does work. The feed bucket does work, but most of the time it doesn't work that much. And that's actually pretty realistic in ways, because if a bull charges you, they typically can't turn. They can swing their head and hook you, but typically they can't turn really fast. So this is realistic in ways and not in others. But you see, they all ran up in the pen. That's not very realistic because you sort of have to guide cattle, and oh, that's a good guy. They're not just gonna run into a pen. You sort of have to guide them, and you basically have to pressure them by getting in specific locations. But it is always best to stay calm and to just gently move the cattle by your presence being somewhere that influences them to go the direction you want. With many people and cow dogs, it's helpful. This got all kinds of torn up because we came in here and had a fight. But this was a stockyards, and first and foremost, I noticed that these small square bales are actually, that's about the way you'd stack them. The dimensions are a little bit off. They're a little bit short in my opinion. But you can make short bales. It's possible. But they're stacked more or less correctly. These round bales are too small. There could be round bales that small, but I've never seen any. These, I believe, are supposed to be catwalks, and there are catwalks at stockyards. But that's what we always called them, catwalks, but they're elevated. They would be higher and they would go over the pins. There would be permanent pins or semi-permanent pins at least, and the catwalks would be up above them, and that's so people could go in and inspect the cattle. I don't know. This water tank is not very accurate. Now, this would be like a gather pin to put them through this chute, and you would never have a big square gather pin like this because it would be, I mean, you would never put your hay in it, for one, and you would never have a big square pin like leading to your chute. You need a kind of a round pin. You at least need a funnel so that you can funnel them down head first into an alleyway to load them up for the chute. Okay, so you would move them through here, but it would be an alleyway and it would be narrow. The bottom of this chute should be much narrower. They did a pretty good job on this chute. It's got levers and stuff up there. It's kind of backwards a little bit because usually you would have a drop gate back here that you pull a rope and it just lifts up and then you drop it when they go in. Instead, they've got it where it's a collapse or a gate that closes from side to side. The head gate would be kind of like this, but narrower at the bottom usually, and there needs to be a bar that connects to it up on the front. Now there are hydraulic chutes too, and there's other designs, but they did a pretty good job, other than the fact that it should be much narrower. And it needs to, like, the cow would come in and you would basically drop the tailgate and then you would catch the head and then you would squeeze the sides in, and it squeezes them so they can't move around and hurt themselves or you. It seems kind of brutal if you've ever watched this for the first time, but it's actually for everyone's benefit. Now this looks like this basically, it's kind of weird the way this is laid out, but this is a sale barn. And normally sale barns have like they have an entry point just like that, and then it'll be like a big round kind of ring. And then, did I get those? Like this is a really small, like you couldn't fit many people in here. But there needs to be a proper exit. There's no proper exit here. And again, you want it round. Typically when you're working cattle, you need things funneling, you need them round, you need to have it so that the cattle naturally flow from one location to another. So basically this looks like someone took their 30 by 40 shed and just turned it into a black market. Like, I'm going to sell a few head of cattle. You would never move a bunch of cattle through here. But, so it's pretty scuffed. It's not super accurate, but like it doesn't need to be, because the fact is that we're adding agricultural things to a non-agricultural game. This isn't Farming Simulator, right? It's a shoot 'em up game that's pretty absurd anyway. And so yeah, it's not bad. They did a good job, and it's kind of fun to see this kind of stuff included in the game. So these trailers are the last thing that I guess I'll talk about, because they're the last thing that I've seen. There would normally be a gate, a separation gate inside here, at least one, so that you could get animals to the front, because you want tongue weight, not well, you want the weight distributed, but you need to have enough tongue weight. So the jack and the gooseneck hitch are a little bit wonky here. It doesn't have the gate on the inside like it should probably have, and there's no side doors. Like these should have doors or gates that hinge out. Here on the back, like I've never seen one that has a gate that rotates down and is a ramp, but I assume that there are some that are made this way. Normally what I've seen is there's a gate that swings out and a smaller gate that slides in the swinging gate. So anyway, the trailers, honestly, they're pretty good. Again,
we're gonna hit them where it hurts. The poor animals that died today paid the ultimate price.
Whatever. Everything agricultural in this game is pretty good considering what kind of game this is. And it's really cool whenever games like this add agricultural stuff in. Kind of like in Grand Theft Auto. There's some agricultural related stuff in a lot of the Grand Theft Auto games. And back off, buddy. And so it's just kind of interesting to look at it, and I hope everybody learned something today, and maybe learned not too much, but hopefully you learned something and enjoyed the video. As always, thanks for watching. Y'all take care.